With that, let's go ahead and get started. As you've been aware, if you've been attending any of the previous sessions, the Collage app, which is right up here, is an Android tool. One thing I do want to point out about that tool, just like that little quick access toolbar, is that tool will actually float over all inputs. This way it doesn't really matter if you're on the Android, you have a connected DVD player, or any other device connected. No matter what input, this icon will actually float over. So you don't have to worry about if you do that, you have to close something else. It acts like an overlay tool. One of the other things I want to make sure you do understand about that overlay aspect, if for some reason you were doing a Google Meet and you were presenting up to the screen, because you cannot present a Google Meet from the screen, you shared this and you used any of these annotation tools on the side, your students won't see those. They're like layers on top of layers. So I'm going to go ahead and just get back to the home screen. That way we have a little bit better backdrop than just a no signal found. What I want to mention to you guys, and that detected my USB plug, what I want to mention to you is that this app is Windows and Mac compatible. So I do have two devices here. I have a Windows computer. I also have a Chromebook. There is an app that has to be installed on the Chromebook. It has already been approved and it is in the JCPS system where you guys can go out and apply or get apps installed onto your Chromebooks directly. If you have a Windows or Mac computer, you may need to reach out to your tech specifically for any assistance installing that on those devices. The next thing I want to mention about the code is you're going to see 9 digits and occasionally you will be seeing 6. 6 means it's in regular mode. 9 means it's in advanced code mode. You always want to be in the 9 digits. Now, some people, when you click it, you're going to get your menu. Some people will see mini size. If you don't see all the numbers and you just see that icon on the top of your screen, that just means you have mini sized it. One of the advantages to that is you don't want the students to be using Collage today. They have to have that code in order to connect to your panel. Some teachers like to keep the code up always because they want their students to be ready or already connected. That's a you and your classroom choice. The next thing I want to talk about when we click on this, there are a few options. The very first one we already covered, which is normal and mini. Then you have the option to view the main interface. As you can see, mine is big, it takes up the screen. If I touch outside, it goes away. So I'm going to open it up. I do want to point out that you guys do have K panels as well as U panels as well as X panels in the district. Those are just different models. If you have one of the older models and you don't see those little bubbles bubbling up like you see here, what you need to do is click on Menu and then you will find About. If you're on the older version, you will see Permissions Mode or Mode, Settings, Activated, and About. You want to click on About. Now it's going to go out to the network and it's going to look to see if there's an update. If there is no update, it'll say it. Also, we have discovered that if it is out of date, sometimes the very first time you try to update it, it will tell you a network error. Just click retry and get that connected. The version you are to be on currently is 3.3.0.3855. That has been shared out or should have been shared out with your techs. So if you aren't in that 3.3 higher range, you will want to update. By updating, you're going to get the latest features. Just like everything, you want to stay up to date. As you notice now, when I go into menu this time, I'm going to click on settings. There are a few things I want to point out here in settings because they're very important. There are some things that we won't cover till a future date. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make this a little bit bigger so we can all see it. The very first thing is device name. It automatically gives each device its own Collage name. There is no need for you to change that unless the district tells you to change it. The next option, allow this device to be discovered. By default, it is off. Do not turn it on unless the district has decided they want these devices to be discovered. Start automatically on boot. We have seen where people have turned it off, so that way when they actually turn the panel on, they don't even have any of the icon, the big one or little one. We encourage you, go ahead and just leave that alone as well. Code refresh rate. You're going to see this in just a second. Mine is set to never because I'm in my own office and I don't have to worry about students, etc. You're going to see a few other options. Your floating size, normal size, and mini. If I click on this, that's where I can set the default. I could also reset the default right here in this menu. And lastly, this should be on, and that is your permissions mode. If it is not on when you get back to your panel, make sure you turn it on. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the big. Now I want to talk about the code. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the code so we can see the refresh rates. I told you I have mine set to never. The default is 10 minutes. What that means is every 10 minutes, this code here will get a new code. That will only impact new connections. Anybody that is currently connected is connected unless they stop or sever their own connection. That is only for new connections. Some teachers, especially secondary, they like it to be like every 30 minutes. So that way students that come in late or a little extra time at the bell ringer. But just know the default is 10. We encourage you to not choose the never option. I'm going to go ahead and close. Now at the very top, I'm actually going to go ahead and just hit my back arrow, which is going to be right here. And that's what's going to send me back one menu. It's going to bring me back to this screen right here. Again, I just touch outside and it goes away. Now what I want to talk about is the devices. So if I have my Chromebook, I will open up the app and I will have an opportunity to type in those 9 codes. It's alpha and numeric. If you ever see a 0, the 0 is always a 0. It will never be an O. Also, if I actually look on the screen, it'll be kind of hard to see, but it's going to give you down here a little mini keyboard of letters and numbers so you can't mistake it. Okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and just connect this last device. Oops, got to click in my cell there to type it in. So at this moment, this device is connected to this panel. I'm going to go ahead and now connect this device, and that device is connected. When I open up my menu again, I want you to look down here at the very bottom. You now see where it says devices 2. Those devices are only connected. They're not doing anything. If I click on the devices option, I will now see all of those devices right in that menu. And I'm going to talk about these options really quick. So you see at the top, DB laptop, it's connected. That very first option, that is, I want you to present. So it's going to be a teacher requesting the end user, the student, to actually share their screen. I can't force them to if it's a Chromebook or tablet or phone. I can request it. The second icon in, that is, I have a file, maybe a worksheet or something like that, or an image. I can actually push that file out to all the devices. The next icon, that is the authorized manager. I will cover that when I connect my phone in just a minute and talk about it. The red link, that is allowing me to sever the connection of the student or device at any time. I'm going to close it, and I'm now going to go here and get out. What I'm going to do on the student's Chromebook, there are several options, and when I actually connect and start to broadcast, I can now choose, just like I would in a Google Meet, what would I like to show. But what I want you to see on the screen in the lower right corner is an accept or reject button. Because permissions mode has been turned on, the students cannot at their will just start casting. I have to accept or reject the broadcast. So when a student casts up here, they are going to be able to cast their entire screen. They could also, and I'm going to go ahead and annotate on this. So this means anything. So they'll be able to jump between browser, apps, documents, anything like this. Media is purely for videos. Photos are purely photos, and documents are documents that they have on their device. If we look at this one, camera is an odd one because unless I want them to share their face up at the screen, there's no need. Remote, don't really worry about that, and do not worry about desktop sync. We will be covering that on a future session. So your main ones that you're going to look at is screen share. Depending on your students, most teachers, again, they really do like this one right here because it's one option and the students can actually do everything they need from there, versus I chose media, but now I have to stop so I could share a photo, which I now have to stop so I can go back and share media. So, but again, that's your classroom, your options. If I go ahead and click on my code again, and I'm going to move it so you can see it, and I go back into my main interface, I now see my devices. I now have a change on my icon. So right now I see mirroring, that's the Chromebook. I lose that ability to request them because they're already doing it. But you're going to see a power button, and that power button will only stop the casting. So if I look down here in this corner, you will now get another set of options in this corner. In this corner, you're going to see stop casting as well as a mute button if they were casting an audio file or video file. So that's going to be important, what you see in the corners. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start mirroring my laptop. And I'm now going to choose the whole screen. So when I actually do this, I'm going to accept it. Once I connect that second device, it splits the screen in half. One thing about Collage is in the device list. Here you can actually have up to 54 devices in queue waiting to either cast or are presenting currently. So you have a lot more power here. When you look at this, I can actually have up to 9 devices. If I'm only using Chromebooks, which is the vast majority of JCPS devices, you are only going to be able to have up to 6 devices on the screen at one time. A big difference between a mobile device, which includes phones, tablets, and Chromebooks, they are casting only. If you have a Windows or Mac computer, you actually have one-pointed touch control of that device. And you're just seeing my screen, so I'm actually going to show it to you on the camera. I've got my device. I can touch, open it up, move it around. So I'm getting that one point of touch control of my laptop. The other thing, we start talking about getting students to cast up. This is, how do I know who is who? So if I look back here on this particular list, I'm going to see the main interface of devices, and it's going to tell me Stu Chromebook. DB laptop, if I only have one student with the initials DB, I would know who it is. What you want to do as a good rule of thumb, I am now in this corner down here. I am going to click on this icon right here, and that's actually going to allow me to now take this particular window and go full screen. What you want to do from your students' devices, the very first time they connect, or even before they connect, you will want them to click on that little icon in the upper left corner. This is like your settings. You want them to change their device name to something that makes sense, so you will be able to know who it is. Would help if I put my fingers on the right keys. There we go. Danny B. So now I hit save. What I want you to know is, even though it says device name has been updated, when I come back into this list, it's still going to show the original Stu Chromebook until they disconnect and reconnect. So that's why often we have actually had teachers, their very first activity with Collage is have the students connect, rechange their device name, disconnect, and now I'll know everybody's good to go. A good guide to think about is if a student name isn't legible or you don't understand, don't take a chance because they could be in a different classroom. We want to make sure we know who we're allowing to present. The other thing I want to point out down here in the lower left corner, so we can see right now because I've gone big, I got a new icon, and that icon there is letting me know there is another window open. Here's my mute, but here is my icon to let me know I've gone full screen. If there's only one device, that icon doesn't appear. I'm going to click on the one with the 1 on it, allowing me to now click, see what's the other option, so I could now toggle quickly between full screen to full screen. If I hit the little collapse down icon, which is to the left of the keyboard, this brings me back to that multiple screen option there. Now the last thing I'm going to cover on this one, this is going to be using my phone. So I'm going to go ahead and change my view so you can see it. I'm just going to type in my code up here, C0C6488A7. Now I have this device connected. Not doing anything, I'm not mirroring yet, I'm just connected. I'm going to go back to my list. Now I see that that's my device name, the SMN, but you see the little icon right at the very end. It's the dude icon, as I like to call it. This is where I can turn a device, doesn't matter which one, a computer, a Chromebook, tablet, phone. I can turn that into the authorized manager. So I'm actually going to start sharing my whole screen here so you can see it. Start sharing, start now. Notice it did not prompt me to accept or reject. That's because I'm the authorized manager. I'm already seeing what I'm going to present. I'm going to make this one a full screen because what I want you to look at right now, I'm up here, the very top, and because I can't point to it there. So here we have the two icons. The very first one, that little odd shaped one on the left, that is my menus button. It's the icon on the right I want you to see. That is going to be my management tool. So if I have a Chromebook or a tablet, or if your phones are allowed on the right network, you could use your phone. Here's where I could actually go through and start to manage everything. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into my regular mode. Here, down here, I can actually click on laptop, and I could sever the connection of the laptop by clicking on the power button. So now I see the list of connected devices. I will also see that the laptop has got that little link button. That link button right now, if I click it, that will allow me to actually sever the connection of the laptop. If I look up in this menu, I'm going to see a very similar set of options. I see by the check mark up here who is my manager. I see the file option to save. I see the request. I also see the power button. So on the very bottom one, if I click that link, that will now sever the link or disconnect it from my class. So if I think about disconnecting it from the class, it might have been at the end of the day where a student forgot to leave the actual class when I told them to disconnect. So if we look at the student's Chromebook here, when they are actually done, and I'm going to make this full screen so you can see it, when the student is leaving the end of the day, they have an opportunity at the very top right. You're going to see that little link there. The student has their own opportunity up here to sever their own connection. So this is an entry level into the majority of everything that Collage can do. There's going to be more because as you see in here, there are some other screencasting, syncing. I'm actually trying to click it like it's mine. Sever that one right now. So you're going to see screen copy and a few other things that are going to be options. We're going to be covering all that later down on a more in-depth Collage focus. So what we would like to do is we would like to ask if anybody has any Collage questions today.